Hello Jenkins, friends here, bringing you another Dota 2 video on behalf of Dota Alchemy. And you know what I care about? I care about your MMR. So this video is going to be an addendum to the Nature's Prophet guide that I made a couple of days ago. A link will be in the description below, where essentially I'm going to be talking about more advanced concepts on the hero, because chances are if you've played Nature's Prophet after watching that guide and you try that playstyle, there are certain problems you will encounter, because naturally there are problems built into the hero. And you don't need to lose MMR trying to figure out what the solutions to those problems are, because I have already lost MMR figuring out those solutions. So that's what this video is going to be about, and let's just jump right into it. So the first more advanced tactic that I have for you on Nature's Prophet is essentially a way to snowball out of control and just win a 20-minute game in a lot of games. Like 50% of my Nature's Prophet games go like this, just because this timing is so strong if you abuse it. But basically what you want to do is when it hits about the 5-minute mark, you want to use your Town Portal Scroll to go back to base. Make sure that you have a Basilius plus Blightstone by the 5-minute mark. If it means going no boots, that's absolutely okay, as long as you have these two items. Then you go to Fountain, pick up 3 Observer Wards, teleport back to your safe lane, place a ward right here, place a ward right here, and then place a ward mid eventually. And then you want to pressure either this tower or this tower. And the reason that this is such an important timing is because most heroes in Dota cannot respond to the pressure that a Nature's Prophet can put on at this point. So having the Blightstone makes it so that you're going to take those towers a lot quicker. Having the Ring of Basilius means that your units and all of the creeps in the lane are going to take extra hits from the tower before they die. So this timing is incredibly important. And look what happened in this game. So I go and I ward mid. The siege creep is still alive on the bot lane, and I ping to push the tower. All you need is level 2 in your Nature's Call, and most of the time it's going to be enough to secure at the very least a tier 1 tower. In fact, with the ward that you put on the shrine, a lot of the time you end up getting a tier 2, because if the enemy team TPs in to defend it, you'll see them. So the other day on my stream, I had somebody ask the question, Jenkins, I saw your Nature's Prophet guide. What heroes should I be telling my team to pick when I'm Nature's Prophet so they can 4v5 while I'm split pushing? And that question, while it's not that bad of a question, it demonstrated a misunderstanding of the purpose of split pushing. And I think if you don't understand the purpose of split pushing, innately you are going to make incorrect decisions when you are split pushing. And this is why a lot of the time you die, because you don't have the purpose in mind. So the purpose of split pushing, and I'm about to show you a clip where we can see this happen. The purpose of split pushing is to split the enemy team up so that you can fight them as a 5v4 or 5v3, or you get a pick off on somebody. Essentially the whole point of Nature's Prophet as a hero is so that you can take better fights. It's actually about fighting, ironically, even though you're the one that's split pushing and avoiding fights. It's just that you're avoiding pure 5v5 so that you can take good fights. So here we have a scenario where I TP into the base. I think about going close to the racks, and then it's like, you know what? They've been hunting me all game. I'll just TP in and send treants. And this is kind of the important part. So this is another kind of concept. But the moment I TP in, I send treants, and then I immediately TP out, because I know against good players, they're going to immediately respond to this push. And you can see that the Dark Willow shows up, and then the Morphling starts running over as well. And now there are 2 heroes that we see that are showing, and on the mid lane there are other heroes on their team that are out of position. So I cause them to be out of position, and now we take a fight. And I can show up to it in 2 seconds, but it doesn't even matter if I show up to it or not, because my team is taking a 4v3. And if you think about split pushing like this, I guarantee you will die way less often, because you won't be trying to get that greedy chip damage on towers. You won't be trying to get that extra hit. You won't be feeding as much, because it's not about getting damage. It's about splitting them up. So next, we have a clip that demonstrates quite a few important concepts on this hero, in my opinion. Concept number 1, as you can see, I TP to the top lane because I see that the enemy team is showing bot, and this is a safe location for me to just go spawn treants. It's very unlikely that anybody is going to be here. So I always buy out the wards. and I'll hold one in my inventory, and anytime I TP to a lane to split push it, I will kill 2 birds with 1 stone, and I'll place a lane ward. The reason why lane wards are so good when you have a Nature's Prophet on your team is because the enemy team is going to be spending so much time in the lanes trying to deal with your split pushing that you will be getting tons of good information just by placing a ward every single time you TP into a location to split push. So if I TP here, I'll place a ward. If I TP over here to their racks to try to split push, I'll maybe place a ward here. Sometimes I'll try to be a little bit less obvious with it, where I'll walk over here, place a ward all the way back here, and then split push from this location, because if you're playing against good supports, they'll see that you popped up here and think that maybe you warded because it's a good ward location. So, I'll sometimes put it here. But in any case, every time I TP, I try to put a ward down, because lane wards, they're going to give a lot of vision if there's a Nature's Prophet in the game. And then another concept, I TP in, I spawn treants, and I Meteor Hammer the wave. So what I almost always do is I will send my treants straight down a lane, and I won't hit the lane, because if I'm sitting there showing, obviously that makes me susceptible to ganks, but then it also makes the enemy team feel secure that I'm not gonna, pop up down here and get this. And I don't want them feeling secure. I want them feeling scared of me. So what I do is I will send the treants down the lane, which of course that's going to naturally push it, but I will put the treants on the ranged creep. And the reason that this is important is because, number one, ranged creeps give you a ton of gold, so if you do this a lot, you're going to farm very quickly. Even if people come and deal with your treants, which most of the time good players will, you'll still get a lot of farm doing this, because the ranged creep will die before the enemies can kill your treants. And then also, the ranged creep does piercing damage, which means it ignores armor of your creeps, and you're going to push way faster if they don't have a ranged creep and you do. So this is a really good way of pushing lanes. And then a lot of the time what I'll do is I'll just chill in the trees with the Vladzora, making sure that, so if we do that, you can see that the treants are healing a little bit. So this guy shows up, so I get out because I don't want to feed. But a lot of the time, the Vladzora plus the treants is enough to kill an entire creep wave. Even without the level 15 talent, it's enough to kill an entire creep wave, and you don't have to show at all. So it's incredibly good, and if your hero icon is not on the map, people are scared, and people are not going to hunt you in locations where you're split pushing. Like, it'll take them a little bit longer to respawn, because people immediately respawn when they see a hero icon on the map. They don't immediately respawn if they see treants. You can't see treants on the map as easily as you can see hero icons. So when people do show up to kill my treants, what I'll do is I'll send them straight down the lane. So let's say the creep equilibrium is in this location instead of over here, and I send the treants down the lane. If this Dark Willow doesn't kill every single one of the trees, then it's going to cut the creep wave, and it's going to drag the creep wave all the way into their fountain. And that means this creep wave is going to come here and turn off backdoor, which means I get this. So essentially, if you do that, if you send the creeps all the way down the lane when they're going to kill your treants anyway, then you're going to force the enemy team to have to chase them and waste time, and you're going to make more space for your team to get a net worth lead. So you can see that I kind of do that here just because it's what I instinctually do, but it doesn't really matter that much, because in this situation there's not that much space, but it's still making it a little bit harder for them to deal with. So I know this breaks the continuity of the video because I have a code on now, and I didn't have that on in the previous clip, and in the next one I'm not going to have it on. That's because this part I added in later, because I think this is a pretty important tip, but you can use Meteor Hammer from out of tower range now. So if it's nighttime, you can hit the tower and nobody's going to see you. So that's a really nice way of split pushing, where you can actually get the Meteor Hammer off before they even see your treants at the tower. But of course that only works during the night, and unfortunately there's not very many good locations for the tier 3s to stand in the trees and hit the tower with Meteor Hammer without being seen. But I do also want to show you a really good way of split pushing a creep wave like this. Like, let's say you want to cut this creep wave because the enemy team is raxing you here. What you can do is TP in and spawn treants, put the treants on the range creep, and then you ulti in the opposite location, and this is going to let me TP out immediately, and the creep wave is going to die. So all it takes is treants, and that's a way to like instantly kill the creep wave where people like legitimately just can't deal with you. One kind of final thing, and this is, I don't know, this is super questionable, but you might be able to use it. But you can do the Meteor Hammer trick where you're doing it from out of vision by using Sprout. That's also possible. So you can set it up here where it blocks vision, and then you can cast it. In fact, you can even use the Sprout to spawn treants. That's possible, but the only problem with that is it just works once, and then obviously the trees here are dead, and then they're going to see you immediately when you TP in, and then you have to TP back here, and well, you can't do that there. So it works once, so it's not that important of a trick, but it is something. So I have one final trick slash concept for you, and this one might make a lot of people uncomfortable, but I do believe that this is one of the best ways of abusing this hero. So a lot of the time you won't have your TP scroll up, which makes it very unsafe to go split push, because if you don't have your TP scroll up, how do you immediately get out after showing? You don't. You die. Well, actually, I have a solution for you. So basically what I'll do is, instead of chilling in the fountain when I'm waiting to TP somewhere, what I'll do is I'll just, like if nothing's going on, I'll literally just TP into their base and stand in the trees. I will actually stand in the trees until my teleportation is off cooldown again. And then what do? I use my Meteor Hammer and send Treants, and then immediately get out and waste their time. So that's a kind of a good way that you can just spend that passive time in a location where you can drop Treants, use your Meteor Hammer, split push, force the enemy team to split up and make dumb choices, and then get out. A lot of the time you see people just sitting in fountain waiting for something to happen, but I think it's actually better to wait over here or over here, or in the trees up here. And most of the time what I do is I'll make sure that there's trees covering me. Like, I don't want people to just be casually running through the lane and then they see me and then I die. Like, you want it to be a location that feels as safe as your fountain. And the way that you do that is you just surround yourself with trees. So I might, stand up here, for example, if I want to split push top, and if it looks like this is a good location for me to split push when my teleportation is off cooldown, I'll send Treants down the lane. But I won't send Treants down the lane until my TP is off cooldown, because the moment you send Treants down the lane, people are just darting over and looking for you. So that's it for this video, and yes, you are correct, I am queuing while recording this. That's how addicted to Dota I am. But this video, I know it's a little bit weird seeing a Nature's Prophet video right after a Nature's Prophet guide. The reason that I did that is basically because I didn't want to make the Nature's Prophet guide like 30 minutes long, but I wanted to have this stuff in a video because I consider it really important to playing Nature's Prophet well. So please comment down below whether or not you think it's a good idea to have this kind of, one video for the basic guide, more advanced concepts in another video. And if you want to see more diverse content instead of this sort of thing, then that's fine too. Just make sure to leave your feedback. I appreciate it, and I hope to see you in another video.